someone were to ask me, what's your favorite band? I would probably say Iron Maiden. I would probably say, well, my all-time favorite that I have listened to for literally my entire life is Iron Maiden. The band which my dad introduced me to when I was a baby by playing it constantly around the house. And as I grew older, kept telling me all these amazing stories about his experiences with them. As their official artist bio says, Iron Maiden are an institution, and that's certainly true. Releasing 17 studio albums, more than a handful of live albums and compilations, and even just surviving as a band for over 5 decades is not an easy task. I want to tell you my story and relationship with this band and how it has shaped my life, because it has meant more to me than I probably even realized before I started writing this essay. My dad programmed me to enjoy rock and metal by playing it in the house since I was born, but my first memories of him showing me Iron Maiden was when I was around 5 or 6 years old. He brought out The Number of the Beast on a CD. He said, "This is the best album ever recorded." So we listened to it front to back. Of course, I was very easily influenced at such a young age, and especially by a parent, but I have to say I agreed with him, at least to the extent that I was completely obsessed with the album afterwards. From the snare and guitar punches in the intro of Invaders, through the mighty power ballad that really showcased Bruce Dickinson's incredible range in Children of the Damned. The iconic galloping rhythms and energy of the entire album was so infectious to me. The most iconic song of them all, of course, being the title track, The Number of the Beast. Even though I couldn't understand a word of the lyrics, being a non-English speaker at the time, I could definitely understand the music. My dad had a lot of the albums on vinyl back in the day, but had gotten rid of them, something I am very sad about today, of course. But even having them on CD as a physical media had some kind of magic to it for me. We had a stereo setup that my grandpa had put together with 2 big speakers, and the setup was in our living room at the time, and we often sat down to listen through an album or just had it on in the background. Iron Maiden, I think, meant some sort of safety for me. Since my dad traveled a lot for work, listening to music with him meant a lot and was something we could really connect over. Same as when he was away, I listened to that same music to feel closer to him. The first Maiden album I was old enough to really remember the release of was A Matter of Life and Death. A bit of an odd introduction maybe, since it was quite a bit different to the classic albums from the 80s that I had heard before, but nonetheless I absolutely loved it. My dad, of course, went to see the tour, as always, and bought me a t-shirt that I wanted to put on the wall in my room. I also had a big flag on the wall of the cover of Number of the Beast. Eddie scared the crap out of me every single night, but I never wanted to take it down. Around this time, Spotify had also launched, and we had a subscription very early on. And from then on, my by far biggest interest was sitting in my room on my little mini laptop and just constantly listen to music, with Iron Maiden being the #1 most play by far. I also remember the Flight 666 DVD coming out around that time. Seeing my favorite songs being played around the world in that movie gave me the biggest goosebumps, and I often got a little tear in my eye when the intro to Aces High and Churchill's speech ended in Bruce running out on stage in front of thousands of people in Mumbai in India. Maiden in particular taught me that people around the world are more similar than we are different. It might sound silly, but I believe that music has a uniting ability that is extremely powerful, and Iron Maiden was my first experience of that. One of the things Maiden does extremely well is the visual parts of their album covers, live shows, and overall musical and lyrical storytelling. Every album feels like a journey into something larger than just a couple of songs. The combination of great songwriting and fantastic art and storytelling becomes very impactful. In 2010, Iron Maiden released their first album in many years. This was the first album from them that I was really super excited about and old enough to truly experience. We had pre-ordered it and picked it up from a local store and put it on. The first snare hit of the title track was incredible. I was so excited I remember it feeling like I was at an actual concert in my bedroom. To many fans, this might be one of the albums where a lot of people lost a bit of interest and Iron Maiden was no longer attracting a massive part of the youth. But to me it was really special. I felt connected to the band in a whole new way just by being part of an album release like that. Then came the best news of my life. Iron Maiden are playing my country on this tour. They are even playing in my hometown for the first time in almost 20 years. We got tickets and I was beyond excited. I think it was also special for my dad bringing me there. I now was part of his Iron Maiden family that had been such a huge part of his life. When that same intro from the album played on the massive speakers, it felt surreal. I was going to see my heroes live and in the flesh. I remember actually crying a little bit when they came running out on stage, and to this day it is by far the most memorable moment of live music for me. One thing I'll never forget is all the older men and women looking at me with big smiles on their faces. I got to sit on people's shoulders and everyone made sure I felt safe and could see the show. A man turned around to my dad and me and said, "It's truly magical to see the new generations enjoying Iron Maiden and hard rock music." And that made me feel so welcome. Live music and going to concerts has almost become my religion since then. Being in that moment feels very spiritual and it brings thousands of people together to form one being. I will always be part of the Iron Maiden family and I wish for everyone to experience the love of being part of a community in that way. So this has been a short story of how I grew to become an Iron Maiden superfan and my most cherished memories with the band. Can you relate to my feelings and experiences? What's your relationship to Iron Maiden? Do you have the same feelings towards another band? This has been a heavy take story and the first of many deep dives into the world of music in general, rock and metal in particular, and the ways it impacts people. Thanks and take care.